This is our second supplementary video, and we're going to be talking about three properties of operations in this video. We're going to start off talking about the commutative property. Addition and multiplication share the commutative property. In addition, we can say that 3 plus 2 is equal to 2 plus 3. If you look at the two sides of the equation, you'll notice that it is the same numbers and the same operation. It's simply in a different order. 3 plus 2 versus 2 plus 3. These are equal, and the commutative property is what says that they're equal. The commutative property says that, in addition, the order of the numbers doesn't matter. The same can be said for multiplication. 3 times 2 is the same as 2 times 3. However, order does matter in subtraction and division. So we cannot say that order doesn't matter in subtraction and division. For instance, 3 minus 2 is not equal to 2 minus 3. So that's the commutative property. The associative property has to do with grouping. And what it says is, no matter how I group addition, the result isn't going to change. If I say 3 plus 4 in grouping symbols, 3 plus 2 in grouping symbols plus 4, that's not any different than if I said 3 plus 2 plus 4 in grouping symbols. So even in this case, I'm going to do 2 plus 4 first, which is 6, plus 3, that's going to result in 9. And here I'm going to do 3 plus 2 first, which is 5, plus 4, which is also going to result in 9. The result is the same. The grouping of the numbers doesn't matter. And that's the associative property of addition. Just like commutative, it also works with multiplication. 3 times 2 times 4. 3 times 2 times 4. If I group the 3 and the 2 together, I get 6 times 4 is 24. Or if I group the 2 and the 4 together, is 8 times 3 is 24. So again, no matter how I group things with multiplication, if it's all multiplication, the result is going to be the same. Once again, that does not necessarily follow with subtraction. If I say 3 minus 2 first, that's 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. However, if I do 2 minus 1 first, that's 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. So the result is not the same. So how you group things with subtraction matters. How you group things with division matters. But with associative property and commutative property, both applying to multiplication and addition, order doesn't matter and grouping doesn't matter. The result will always be the same. Distributive property is a very specific property that combines both multiplication and addition. Distributive property says this: if I have some number multiplied by some sum of two other numbers, let's use different numbers for clarity. So instead of all 2's, we'll say 2 times the sum of 3 and 4. That can be rewritten as the sum of the products of 2 times 3 and 2 times 4. So let me say that in a slightly clearer, less mathy way. Essentially, what distributive property says is, instead of doing 3 plus 4 and then multiplying by 2, I can multiply the 3 by the 2 and the 4 by the 2 and add together what the result would be. So in this case, I have 2 times 7, which is 14. Okay. In this case, I have 6 plus 8, which is also 14, because I take this 2 and I distribute it to the 3 and the 4. So that's what distributive property is. Distributive property is taking what's on the outside and distributing it throughout parentheses. The distributive property is going to become central to our discussion of factoring and multiplying binomials, which I know at this point you probably don't know what that is yet, but this is going to become part of that conversation, and we'll have to revisit this property. So this is just a supplementary video to remind you what the commutative, associative, and distributive properties are, which you've probably heard of before, so that you can understand when I'm talking about them later on in class or in other videos.